From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, 2 p.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We will first hear from County Counsel Margot Rezan for a report on actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. You had two items on your closed session agenda, items number 58 and 59. 58 was withdrawn and will be placed on a future agenda, and there is no reportable action on item number 59.
Thank you. Okay, so we will begin by considering the consent agenda. And for those of you that would like to follow along, agendas are located in the tables near the two doors. So all items listed with a CA or C above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. The CA represents the agenda for the Kern sanitation, the CA represents the agenda for the Board of Supervisors. The C represents the consent agenda for the Kern Sanitation Authority. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So at this time, I'm going to read the consent agenda items for the Board of Supervisors agenda. So starting on page 2, we have item 4 on consent. On page 3, items 5 through 7 are on consent. Page 4, items 8 through 12 are on consent. Page 5, items 13 through 15 are on consent, and also items 17 through 19 are on consent. So item 16 on that page is off consent. Page 6, all items 20 through 25 are on consent. Page 7, all items 26 through 31 are on consent. And finally on page 8, items 32 through 37 are on consent. And so I'll ask if there's any members of the audience would like to make a comment on the Board of Supervisors consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, then I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion on consent.
And to adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Kern Sanitation Authority.
My apologies, Zach. So moved.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
Supervisor Perez, I know you voted, but let's re-vote to have the record reflected correctly. Supervisor Couch, can you reconfirm your vote? Thank you. Now I'll display the vote. All ayes. Thank you. Okay, we are now sitting as the Kern Sanitation Authority and we'll consider the consent agenda, which includes item C1. Are there any members of the audience who would like to make a comment on item C1? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and to adjourn as the Kern Sanitation Authority and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Okay, we have reconvened as the Board of Supervisors, and
I'm sorry, Chairman, I needed to call the vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy.
That's okay. The vote is approved. All ayes.
My apologies. After this morning, I might be trying to move a little quickly. Okay, so we're now sitting as the Board of Supervisors, and we will consider item 2 under public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or question posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct the staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. And so I'll now ask if there's any members of the audience who would like to make a public presentation. We ask that you state your name, and you are limited to 2 minutes. Please come forward. Good afternoon.
Good morning, our guests, good afternoon. My name is Jim Wheeler. I'm the Executive Director of Flood Ministries, and previously the board requested that I come to give a report on our Navigation Center in Delano, which is funded primarily by county ESG funding. And I am happy to inform the board that the City Council in Delano has approved spending some of their funding to purchase a building for us, and also to do the remodeling on the building so that we'll actually have an overnight shelter in Delano. Currently, it's more of a drop-in center model due to some NIMBY issues and so forth, but I'm very excited about that. We're working closely with the city to design the center, and so I wanted to share that with you. In addition, since we've been open in July, we have engaged with 178 unique individuals. We're currently involved in case managing 53 of those individuals. We've provided over 700 showers, 1,700 meals, 242 loads of laundry. We have housed 4 individuals, and we have alternately stabilized 7 others into additional type of housing. And we currently have 8 of our Delano clients who are matched to housing and waiting just to find the housing. So I wanted to share that with you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Supervisor Couch?
Hey, Jim, I just want to thank you for coming down and doing that, and thank you and your staff for what they're doing there. Really, really good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your support. We appreciate it very much.
And I know that I still owe you an answer, and I'm going to get you one right away.
Okay, looking forward to that. Okay, thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sorry, I got a little trick shoulder here. My name is Paul Linfesty, and I watched this morning. I wish I could have come in, but I was in a little bit of agony this morning. I just want to thank the board for passing on a comment I made asking about the website, and my answer, I think, was very forthrightly answered today when I saw it on TV. I guess I was a little stoked because she actually said Mr. Linfesty. I said, wow, that made me feel important for all of a sudden. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I did not get to speak up this morning, obviously, because I wasn't here, but I do want to say that I really think that Mary Bedard should be given credit for giving such a complete report today, a very thorough report on how everything works election-wise. And I do think obviously, there are going to be some problems when you have volunteers. They're being trained once and then going for a one-day event where they don't get to learn from that to pass it on their job the next day. But I think considering all the hard work that has to go in to the elections office, I think it's remarkable that they do as good a job as they can. And the important thing is for them to be as thorough as they can. And some people grumble because the actual results don't come in 3 hours after the polls close, but it's impossible with the amount of ballots that they have to process and challenge and everything. So I think I also was, I know that one thing that I know is that at the last election in 2020, Donald Trump, for example, as you pointed out, won Kern County, which is what I would have expected. I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I fully knew he was going to win Kern County, so he did. And I think that just shows that the results actually were honest. I certainly wouldn't want to waste our elections office time on an audit that would go on and on to prove that the election results they released showing Donald Trump winning actually was correct. So I just wanted to say, I came down here in person because I thought there needed to be another point of view from the audience to come down. So even though my shoulder is kind of out right now, I just felt I had to come down and say, I think all of you guys do it's a very hard job. And we can sit back, and I've certainly criticized people on this board before, but you guys are under a lot of pressure from a lot of different areas in Kern County, a lot of different interests. And I think under the circumstances, I think you all deserve a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linfesty. No, not clapping, right. Next speaker, please.
I was ready to clap for you.
Paul, can I ask, Paul, is that collectively and individually, each of us a round of applause?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be able to use that. Yeah, okay.
Everybody deserves that. People don't say that enough.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Checkley Sanchez. I'm a Roseman resident. The reason I'm here today is to talk about a few things, but I'll make it quick. I know I have 2 minutes. First of all, recently we just lost our East Kern field representative, Laura Lynn Wyatt, due to, I think she's a part-time employee. But I don't understand the whole deal, but she's no longer with us for the next few months or until a contract comes back up. That's huge. We need her back. I don't know what you as a board have to do to try to go for your general budget, to try to give Zach a budget back for this, because she's on many projects. She's working in Roseman alone with me on 6 different projects right now. And with her gone from Roseman, Mojave, Tehachapi, Boron, I mean, she is the only field representative that he has. And we need her. And I don't know if everyone lost a field representative, but if you did, we need to work something out, because those field representatives are very important. And I'm kind of panicking because I don't know what I'm going to do without her. I know that there's other people in our supervisor's office, but unfortunately, they're spread thin as well because we have a very large district. So that's the first thing. Second thing I would like to talk about is every year I come back to you guys asking for you to put a measure on the ballot for marijuana. There are 7 shops in my town not paying taxes and not being shut down by the Kern County Sheriff either. So, no one else is putting a measure on the ballot this year, and it won't be confused by the people like it is every year prior. So I'm asking if we could please put a measure back on the ballot this year so we can collect those taxes for our county, because there's 6, 8 in Roseman. I can imagine what's outside of Roseman. The last thing I want to talk about is, can we make sure that our staff knows township and lines? Make sure that they know where their boundaries are and their lines are. Every time we come forward about something going on in Roseman, we're told by the planning department that Roseman ends at 35th, our library's at 37th. So that means our library's not in the town of Rosemont either. The county map says it goes to 170th, 90th is even approvable, not 30th, 35th. I do apologize about that. So if we can make sure our paid employees know our line boundaries when developing projects, that'd be great. Thank you. Sorry I went over my time. Makes sense. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. There's a few things there. Ms. Oviatt, do you want to address the issue of the boundaries, and then I'll try to get some clarification for Ms. Sanchez and the public as far as my field rep is concerned.
Hi, Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources. So we have a lot of new people in the building department, which is under Craig Pope, and a lot of new people in the planning department. Rosamond goes to 60th Street, the Rosamond specific plan. Then the Willow Springs plan starts at 60th. I don't know who told someone that, but I have never brought anything to your board or to the Planning Commission that had an inaccurate boundary. Rosamond is not a town, it's an unincorporated community, and it ends at 60th Street. So we will go back, and Mr. Murphy, my assistant director, will send out an email. But if someone knows who they spoke to, then Ms. Checkley can tell me who that person is, and I'll make sure that the boundary is correct. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ms. Oviatt. In regard to my field rep, Mr. Alsop, I'm going to ask you to help answer this question, but essentially, part-time employees in the county with new rules that are in place before, all the board members know, the members of the public may not know, there was a period of time where it was 9 months on and 2 months off, and now it's gone to 3 months off. But there was an extension of time because of COVID. We were allowed to continue to employ for a period of time. But Mr. Alsop, perhaps you can give some clarity. But yes, I'll acknowledge that's going to be a huge hole in our office's ability to cover the district, losing one of my field reps for 3 months. And so we're going to struggle with that, but we're going to do the best we can. Mr. Alsop?
I'll try to be clear. I think some of this might be deeper in the weeds than we want to go with general members of the public, but that employee was an extra help employee. There are special rules around extra help employees, period of time that they're employed, and once they hit that mark, they've got to be unemployed and a non-extra help employee for a period of time before they can be brought back. These are not our rules. These are state rules, I believe, and that's the issue, what happened. And I guess what I'd like to say is that we will do everything we can to work with your office to try and understanding obviously the size, the scope of your supervisorial district, and certainly what she pointed out, those are important, people that are involved with projects for you on behalf of the county that have been involved with those projects that are no longer there due to something that's really kind of beyond our control. It's unfortunate, but we'll do all we can working with your office to try and find a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Alsop. And I'm certainly not trying to put you on the spot here, and I didn't know that Ms. Sanchez was going to come in and talk about this, but obviously she talks to my field rep a lot and is aware of the situation that we're going to be dealing with in the Eastern Kern portion. But I just basically was looking to you to help explain the rules, and that this isn't something that we put in place. This is something that we have to work within, and and it's frustrating for everyone. In regard to the dispensaries in Rosamond, we will continue to talk to the sheriff about enforcement. Obviously, they have struggles and priorities with other kinds of narcotic enforcement throughout the county. Supervisor Maggard deals with the same situation and parts of his district, so does Supervisor Perez, and I'm sure, I know, all of us do, let's just put it that way. But it's just a matter of, we live in the state of California, a lot of things have been decriminalized, and then you're dealing with just the spread, the resources of the sheriff being spread thin and trying to do the best they can, but we'll continue to talk to them. Supervisor Perez?
I appreciate that, Zach, and thank you for bringing that up and how important the individuals are that serve and the relationships that you develop there, right? I mean, constantly changing people, is a real setback, obviously, and also in your trust and faith in your own government, right? When my predecessor was here, Michael Rubio, he had 5 staff, Ryan. I mean, literally 5 full-time staff. I now have 2 full-time staff, one of whom is out on maternity leave, and I don't have enough money to replace her. So I literally have 1 staff, one's out on maternity leave. And, I think it's something we should revisit, Zach, honestly. And to your point, and to do the work of a complex community. Ryan, this is not your fault. I'm not trying to drag anybody into this conversation, but I literally have 1 staff. My chief of staff had a beautiful baby girl named Violet, and she will be back, but she's out, and I just can't even afford to replace her. And I think that's a problem. Zach?
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Perez. I think we're all in the same boat. I mean, I have 1 full-time and now 1 part-time. And I think everybody, we all manage our staffs a little bit differently as far as how many full-time, how many part-time. But with the budget cuts, we took the budget cuts just the same as the departments did. And when you're dealing with a small budget like ours, a 15% cut is tremendous, because it means you're losing people. Clerk of the board, she knows how this is as well. And so we're trying to dig out of our financial problem that we're in. We're making some progress, but unfortunately, revenues have been flat, but it's a struggle, and I would argue, the larger your district, the more the problem becomes glaring, because it's an hour and a half to some of my communities from one end to the other or more. So, but thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you being here. Do we have any other public presentations? Please come forward. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Chairman. Scrivener, other board members, good afternoon. Again, I'm David Hartley. I'm not orchestrated this afternoon. I'm just going to try to cap on what I talked about this morning. And if we don't do something dramatic, you want to talk about revenues being flat, they're going to go way down, because the progressives under the dome in Sacramento
are not only coming after oil, they're coming after agriculture, the two base industries. And if you don't have that, Mr. Maggard, you don't have Kern County anymore. So we need to do something. We need to change the strategy, even if we do something symbolic to kickstart a different direction. I would be in favor of that. We need to raise public awareness. When the soccer mom and the people that are currently asleep find out that, hey, Gavin's got a plan. He's going to end fracking in 2024. He's going to end ICE engines, which means internal combustion engines, 2035, and end oil production entirely 2045. And I'm not so sure that he's got any underlying legislation to do so. But when they find out that at some point, some bureaucrat is going to tell that soccer mom and the traveling businessman, hey, park your SUV and get on this electric, this magic bus, I think that the public is going to be outraged. And so I think we need to do something to get in front of that eventuality, because that's where they're taking it. And they're going to take agriculture to where it's going to be, hey, private property rights, we really don't recognize that much anymore. It's 10 acres and a mule for each one of you. It's subsistence farming. You and your family, that's all you get. It's serfdom. So I don't think I have to stress to you how important oil and gas is to this county. It touches everything. You cannot have a modern lifestyle without it. And my 2 minutes is gone. I'd love to have the opportunity to make a 15-minute presentation like all the trade organizations and the big companies got back in January 2020. Thank you for your time. You all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. Mr. Alsop, I want to, I don't want it to appear to Mr. Hartley or anyone else that we are not responsive and concerned about oil. Could you give just a brief synopsis of the flavor for the kinds of things? We've done a myriad of things to try to protect oil and get the governor off our back and keep the ability to keep permits going. So could you give just a little synopsis of that so that he could have some sense of what we've done? And I don't want to do it because I don't want to make it sound like we're being defensive. I'd rather you just explain what it is.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard, and through the chair. I don't think this board disagrees with much of what the gentleman said. Probably not everything, but the core message. We're suing the governor. We filed a lawsuit against the governor. It's quite an extensive effort, and really for all of the reasons that you articulated this morning in your public comments, really toward the end, is really at a high level the kind of the basis for our lawsuit. I know the oil industry is doing the same, and I don't think I'm at liberty to discuss what our strategies are within the context of that lawsuit's attorney-client privilege. But I can tell you it's quite extensive, and it does involve quite extensive communications, a coordinated communication strategy, and you know, that's a fight that we've taken on. And you know, beyond that, I think you're right. I think folks here need to understand what's happening. How they're impacted. This is not getting into the industry and not getting into some of the stuff that Ms. Oviatt would want to talk about with regard to how we produce oil and gas here, which is the most responsible and cleanest way you know, that anybody around the world is doing. But we're really focused on job loss. We've got tens of thousands of jobs connected to the oil and gas industry. And we have hundreds of millions of tax revenue for this county that is connected to it, not just through property taxes, but through sales taxes, both of which will be disrupted if we continue down the path that we are on. And that translates ultimately into less services for people in this county: public safety services, law enforcement, fire, and other community investments. So that's an action that we've taken. I think that is an extraordinary step to take, and that is a fight that I think we're willing to get our knuckles bloody on, frankly, given the extraordinary impact it's going to have on our community here. So I hope that answers your question, Supervisor.
And I'd just like to add that I respect this board, and I certainly don't want you to take my comments as attacking you. I'm just seeing that we do need to go a different direction and have new strategies, or they are going to kill the oil and gas industry. You know, we are, as soon as they find a way to shut us off from being able to dispose of our produced water, we're done. If they pass one rule against the refiners, where the refiners can no longer use hydrofluoric gas to make the summer blend, the refiners have all announced, we're out. We cannot comply with that and deliver the summer blend, and we are not going to spend the money in California to retool our refineries. So we'll be importing our summer blend from somewhere else at that point. A couple of years ago, that was queued up to be voted on in the South Coast Air District, and for some reason, that got pulled. So anyway, we're right there at that point of going off the cliff a couple of different ways, and I just wanted to increase the awareness and keep you all informed.
Mr. Harley, we appreciate that, and increasing the awareness is important. I think that you know, it's one thing when we're trying to educate folks in San Francisco about what we do, but I fear we're losing some of our own young people not understanding how important, excuse me, how important oil and gas is, and so the education component is critical. And so we appreciate you being here, and I think that, you know, certainly current events have demonstrated how important it is for energy independence, and that I think applies to the country and also to the state. The fact that we import all this oil in California from countries that pollute and, you know, have terrible human rights records is, you know, it's a travesty. It's foolish. But that's what's happening under the governor's policies for the state of California, and it's really a terrible shame. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys very much, and I will be coming down here very regularly, and we'll keep this dialogue going.
Thanks so much. Next speaker, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Michael Turnipseed, representing the Kern County Taxpayers Association. After our marathon session this morning, I couldn't miss the opportunity to come back and give my comments. Like everything else in your life, elections are controlled by people outside of your control. People complain about dead people still being on the voting list. Call the Secretary of State. She maintains the voter rolls, not you. So you shouldn't be blamed because the voter rolls aren't current. When you go to staffing it, I worked an election probably, I don't know, 14, 15 years ago just to see how it was. And it's a very interesting process. I mean, I bet 75 or 80% of the people who worked the polls were retirees. Had nothing else to do, could show up 2 days every 2 years and got their $100 or whatever it was, and that's how it worked. Well, we can't get people to work in restaurants, so how are you going to get people to work on election day? And I think that's the part where you really need to be looking, because I know in the past you've used county employees and traded days off, vacation days, or whatever happened. You might want to seriously look to figure out, you've got, what, 7,000 or 8,000 employees, how you get staff elections with your staff. The LA model that they mentioned today. I mean, you already know who they are, they're working, it's not like you took them off the street or whoever showed up and went to the class. And I think that's a problem, probably not only here, but everywhere. But since it's on your plate, I don't think it matters if the head of elections is elected, appointed, or in where it is right now. It's a boots on the ground. Most of the complaints are about the people who are doing the work, who only work 2 days every 2 years. So I hope you think that is your challenge before we get too crazy. Let's address that problem first before we worry about who's going to be the general leading the march. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turnipseed. I'm going to turn to Mr. Alsop, and we did broach the subject a little bit today as far as using county management to work elections. That's a discussion that's occurring. Mr. Alsop, you can help us to address that specifically.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Staffing issues, oil, elections, it's a great job. We're just doing the full scope of everything. I just wanted to mention
Be grateful you're not an oil man or a farmer.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, we've been discussing this. Your board has been discussing this, and we have been working with Ms. Bedard, our elected auditor, controller, clerk, to come up with a plan. And I believe that we'll be bringing a plan to your board along the lines of what Mr. Turnipseed is talking about next meeting. I'm sorry, on the 29th of this month.
Thank you. Any other public presentations today? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to board member announcements or reports. Supervisor Couch.
Mr. Pope, you're back with us full time? All right, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
You look good. I have something here for you. Several of us were at, I think it was February 17th, and we had an opening for the Kern River Bike Path Extension.
Yes.
And we got a little proclamation here for you, or certificate of recognition signed by all of us that we wanted to give to you for your department for all the work you did for it. And we just wanted to say welcome back.
Well, thank you very much, and that was quite the opening, and served us all well and served the community well.
You did.
So thank you.
Thank you. I'll give this to you over there.
Okay, any other reports? It's okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to our remaining item on the agenda today. On page 5, that's item 16. This is a proposed retroactive sole source agreement with Community Action Partnership of Kern to operate a safe camping and parking program from February 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2025, in an amount not to exceed $3,494,380. And I will turn to Ryan Alsop, our CAO, to start this item off.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm just going to hand it over to our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Zerfas, for this presentation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Honorable Chairman and members of the board. In May of 2020, the county officially opened the M Street Navigation Center in partnership with the Community Action Partnership of Kern, or CAPK. In spite of the complications of COVID-19, since then, we've been able to serve 1,073 individuals with temporary shelter and a variety of supportive services. In addition to mental health, substance use treatment, and medical care, we now have Smile Makers Dental providing dental services and had 34 residents complete financial literacy training offered by Chase Bank. Most importantly, through the M Street Navigation Center, we've moved 116 individuals off the street and into permanent housing. Unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, not all homeless individuals are willing to enter a shelter like M Street. For this reason, when the M Street Navigation Center was first planned, it included a safe camping and safe parking element. It was also a component of the county's multi-departmental strategic action plan to reduce homelessness and mitigate its impacts on public safety and quality of life, presented to your board last October. The item before you today would implement just that. It is a 3-year contract with CAPK to develop and operate a safe camping site and a safe parking site at the M Street Navigation Center. Both of these activities are tools to help bridge those living in places like the streets, parks, and riverbeds with the Navigation Center and eventually into permanent housing. This will provide those individuals that are currently reluctant to entering into a navigation center or other homeless shelter with a safe and sanitary place to stay, and will provide an opportunity for us to build a trusting relationship with them. Individuals at the safe camping and parking site will receive basic services, and these sites function to provide a safe alternative to living on the streets and a smooth pathway into the navigation center. The safe camping site is located at the area between the railroad tracks and the existing older county buildings at M Street, with the entrance where James Street meets O Street. It is sized with roughly 50 10 by 15 foot camping spaces, so they're individually delineated and marked. The safe camping area will provide, people in the safe camping area will be provided with tents, sleeping bags, meals, 24-hour security, access to restrooms, and a variety of services from providers like Kern BHRS and Flood Ministries. The safe parking site will be an allocation of 10 parking spaces in the M Street Navigation Center parking lot, and will basically receive the same services as those in the safe camping site, minus the tents and sleeping bags unless needed. If approved, the safe camping and parking at M Street will be another tool available in our collective effort to address homelessness in this community, mitigate its impacts on public safety and quality of life, and provide help to those individuals in need. I'm happy to answer any questions that your board may have. Additionally, we have a number of our partners in the audience today, including CAPK, that may wish to address your board on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Zervis. I'll ask if there are any board members that have questions for Mr. Zervis at this point. If not, we'll go to the public. Any members of the public here that would like to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and fellow board members. I'm Jeremy Tobias, CEO of CAPK, and I'm up here today to show our support for this project. We all know this is a long, multi-step journey to solve the problem of homelessness in our community, and I wanted to express our view that this item is an important step in the county's effort, and really the entire community's effort, to address homelessness, as it provides a safe place for the homeless to go and camp and park if they're hesitant to enter one of our traditional centers here in the community. I can also let you know last week the CAPK Board of Directors reviewed and approved this agreement with the county, so we're ready to move forward. We are currently lining up our contractors for fencing, electrical work, et cetera, and plan to initiate the work soon. Just a quick update, Jim mentioned we're serving our clients, up to 150 clients a day at our M Street Center. It's a very holistic center. We do a lot of different work that Jim mentioned. I can tell you during the most recent surge, we did pause intakes during that surge, and now we've reopened them again. And so our current count at the center as of today, roughly today, is about 105 clients. I expect that to be back up to the 150 within the next week or two. We're taking in about 5 to 7 intakes daily. During the freeze, I think we dropped to about 85 during the freeze on intakes because some people were exiting. As Mr. Zervis mentioned, we've moved 116 residents into permanent housing, which we're very, very proud of. Lastly, I want to acknowledge our wonderful staff at the M Street Center. We have several of them here today. If you have any specific questions about how we operate that center or how we will operate this safe camping area, we'd be happy to answer those. And we look forward to working with the county on this next step in this long journey. Thank you.
Mr. Tobias, thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the primary outreach...
And you're Jim Wheeler, right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You're Jim.
Jim, yes. Yeah, I'm the short, stocky Jim, not the handsome, tall Jim, so... yes, I know. Trust me. I look in the mirror every day, so I know there's a difference.
He was not talking about you, Mr. Zervis.
Yeah. You can pay me later, but... So anyway, we're the primary boots on the ground in Kern County. We cover all 8,200 square miles with our outreach teams and our great partnership we have with BHRS and Planning and Natural Services and other departments in the county. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the ability of the CAO's office to think outside the box a little bit about how to solve this problem. It's going to take we didn't get here by just because of one reason, and it's going to take a lot of ways for us to get out. I mean, we have to have a comprehensive approach, and I think the county is working on that comprehensive approach. And I like this idea of safe camping and safe parking. We come across folks all the time who are parked and living in their vehicles, and they're a lot of times single women who feel unsafe, and this will be a safe place for them to go to park while we're working with them, and our other partners are working with them to get them off the street, right? And in addition, I understand the public outcry about the Kern River and other locations in downtown in particular about the encampments. We recently did a survey, our team, and there were over 90 encampments on the Kern River. Almost every single encampment had more than one person, and also almost every single individual had more than one pet. Currently, the navigation centers and the shelters can either take no pets or just one pet. And so again, I applaud. If you read the proposal, it's going to allow for two different dogs, and I think that will help us to reduce that barrier in getting people out of the river and off the street. And so, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this works. I think that this is going to be a great project, and CAPK is a very capable partner. And I, for one, am thankful for this project, and I think it's going to be very successful in our efforts to deal with homelessness. So, thank you.
Thank you. Who'll be next, please?
Good afternoon, Carlos Baldovinos, Executive Director at the Mission of Kern County. Mr. Chairman and the Board of Supervisors, I support this project, so I'm here to voice that support for you all. I think this is good, it's very much needed. I think this avenue of going this direction, it's gonna help folks that normally would not go into a shelter bed. So I'm very supportive. I think CAPK will do a great job. They're doing a great job up at the M Street Navigation Center, so I'm here to support.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Scrivener, members of the board. I'm Stacy Kuwahara, the director from Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. I am very excited to see this initiative moving forward for our community. Safe parking, safe camping is going to provide a much-needed resource as we continue to look for safe alternatives for our individuals living unsheltered on the street. Homelessness isn't a one-size-fits-all matter. It's going to require a lot of different solutions. This is really going to contribute to rounding out the resources we have for the individuals we're working with who aren't ready or may not be right to go into the congregate settings like our shelters and our navigation centers. Last week, I got to participate in the homeless point in time count. I got to survey individuals along a specific stretch of the riverbed. And so I can absolutely appreciate how meaningful this particular resource is going to be. I can reiterate what Jim said about the dogs and the barriers that having dogs create, the barriers and the options when you're a couple and you want to stay with your partner. And really, I just think that this is a great alternative to fill in some of the resources we have for our homeless individuals. So thank you for continuing to support our efforts to provide safe places for people to sleep, safe places for them to be, for removing these barriers and creating opportunities for us to continue to outreach to our community and provide services.
Thank you. Supervisor Perez.
I see another speaker. I can wait. Go ahead. Hate to stop you in your track. You had such good momentum.
Hi, everyone. Anna Lavin, Executive Director of the Bakersfield Kern Regional Homeless Collaborative. And I don't know that there's a whole lot more I can add. My peers, I think, speak really well to just how important this particular project is. It lends us additional options. It gives us more diversity for the types of programming and getting folks really that much closer to getting connected, getting them stable, and getting them housed, which is really our ultimate goal. So I'm really excited about it. I think others have already spoken to the fact that we're continuing to plug in gaps. And whenever we can have more tools available in our toolkit, that's a good thing for us when we're looking at an issue as complex as homelessness and how to come up with solutions. So, of course, we would be in support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers today? All right, seeing none, I'll return to the board. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. I'm very excited about this project. Jim and of course Cap K, my goodness. You are absolutely trustworthy, absolutely capable. You know, you're people of integrity, you have consummate professionals, and I'm really excited for what this represents, the streamlining of services, you know, the graciousness on the dogs piece. I mean, we have, you know, lots of stray animals in this community, right, too, who also can provide emotional support and love for a lot of traumatized people with, you know, complexity that, you know, none of us has the graciousness to understand, right? So I really appreciate you guys. It's so good to see Anna and Stacy and all of the streamlining and getting on the same page in terms of even communicating about our resources and being creative. And I feel a spirit of love, but of accountability. You know, I see that, and I'm excited about what that means, and I see all the locking of arms going on here. So Jeremy, I tip my hat to you again. Thank you for keeping the standard high. And for showing us how it's done. And really, hats off to you guys. God bless your hands. I think this is an exciting time. And I'll make a motion on staff's recommendation. Thanks, Zach.
Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Alsop, I want to talk to you for a second about the periphery around our M Street facility. Cap K and Mr. Tobias do a fabulous job of running it for us. And you know, we want to be good neighbors, so I think we are an extraordinary neighbor downtown. We've helped 150 people not be wandering about our community because they're there instead. I ride my bike by and drive by the facility regularly. The M Street Center is not adding to the problem downtown, it's helping it. But I notice a bit away from our campus that there are more and more people sleeping in the midst of the day, in the middle of the sidewalk, and just the human consequence of homelessness is more and more evident. And there is some confusion and concern about other projects on F Street that may or may not happen. There's just an increased concern amongst the downtown neighborhoods. So I was wondering if between Jeremy Tobias and you, Mr. Alsop, if we could engage our partners at the city to help us make sure that that area is as free from the consequences of homelessness as we can make it, so that the public doesn't think that we are adding to the problem. Instead, they can conclude that we are making it better. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want me to provide a response?
Oh, if you'd like to, sure.
Supervisor, yeah, through the chair, I would simply say that, you know, M Street, the facility itself and all the things that are on that property is a tool in our effort to deal with this issue that's affecting so many of us, not to mention the people themselves who are in a fairly bad way. Yeah, I agree with you. I've driven through there. If you come down Q, right, and you go over the tracks, kind of up in that area, that park that's there, I think it's Wheel Park. Every now and again, it kind of fills up. City comes in and kind of moves folks around, and it's down again. And there are folks on the sidewalk there. If you go down further, I don't know, northwest of the site, you get into that Garces Circle area, North Chester.
That's particularly suffering.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
You know, it's my hope that, you know, we have a good partnership with the city. I think our working relationship is very productive, and communication is flowing and frequent. And I think working with the city, working with our behavioral health department, law enforcement, sheriff, BPD. We have partnerships with the BPD. Your board approved some new efforts with them, and certainly with our community, the people that are in this fight with us, people like Cap K, people like Jim Wheeler, people like Carlos, Anna, you know, who are doing the engagement, Jim particularly going out and dealing with these folks. You know, I see this M Street facility really getting ramped up to, you know, to become the facility that you had always envisioned it to become. Really being able to grab folks that are certainly nearby, right? Getting those folks to move off the public property, whether it's toward the Garces Circle and up North Chester or to the east, moving them in. If we've got 105 beds, we've got another 45 beds available, right? That's an alternative. We should be moving people, working with the city out of public spaces, getting them in. If they don't want to go to the M Street facility for whatever reason, we've got if they're in a car or whatever, we've got the camping spot for them, the parking spot. We've got camping sites available. I see this as really becoming the tool that we've always wanted it to be, and acting really as an alternative to folks being out and about in places that they really shouldn't be. And I'm talking about public spaces. So that's kind of a long answer to say that I see this facilitating really, getting more and more folks off the street. And I think that'll be a visible, tangible thing for the public once we get it up and running. And certainly in the immediate area, I would argue that that's probably that's low-lying fruit for us. Those are populations of homeless that we should be engaging with and really encouraging to get into that shelter, whether it's camping or in a bed. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Just one more thing, Mr. Chairman. This is a slight deviation from this, but it's a great segue, I think. We have wraparound services at M Street with mental health services and addiction and whatnot. I met yesterday with the good folks at Adventist Hospital, and they have a mobile diagnostic van or bus that they move around town that they're interested in engaging and maybe developing more than one. And I talked with them about, Stacy Kuwahara is our Director of Mental Health here for the county, about engaging your staff to be a part of that. They're interested in that. They also have interest in bringing some more showers here to Kern County that might help us, because we'll probably have a bigger demand at M Street than our current shower facilities might be able to have. So they're just a great partner. I know they're helping us already with Kern Medical, but Adventist Hospital is just a great partner with us. So I wanted to just let the public know that there are other efforts besides just what we're seeing here underway. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And I will second the motion.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, you have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Supervisor Perez, can you reconfirm your vote? Thank you. The motion is approved, all ayes.
Thank you. That brings us to the conclusion of our agenda for this afternoon. And so I will entertain a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. We are adjourned.